I'm here with Rabbitoh 801 and life member of the club, Paul Mellor. Welcome to Bunnies TV.
Oh, thanks, Mavo. Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. Where are you from and what was it like growing up there?
Yeah, so I grew up in East Gardens, which was Hillsdale back then.
Yep.
And I used to always tell everyone I was from Aruba because otherwise I was a bit embarrassed to say I was from Hillsdale. I don't know why, but yeah. And so I grew up around that area, and went to Pagewood Marist Brothers and just at the little school, just been close to that as well for my primary school, which is Our Lady of Annunciation. Yeah. So
they changed Hillsdale to East Gardens. It's a bit more, I know what you mean. It had a bit of a bad name in the old days, but I mean, I grew up in the area too, and it's a great area to grow up in.
Oh, sure is, yeah. I know. I was just thinking on the way here, like things that you might ask, and I was thinking, I remember like there was lots of kids on the street, and that's what I was out all the time, just outside and playing. And Ashley Hawkins, he's Dean's father, was my next door neighbour, and and his brother Paul. So, and my cousin Darren was up the road. So we were just always out on the street playing football, cricket, whatever. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Dad of footy, Dean.
Yeah, that's right.
And Brent.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
both in the system.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
right.
Well, their father, Ash, he was a really good athlete. Really good. Yeah, long distance runner, but also played football and cricket, everything. Yeah, really good.
And he's a good Oztag player too. I've seen him do that. So, and you're turning the big 5-0 next year, I think. So life goes on. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a bit of a milestone, isn't it? And I was thinking, I went to a 50th just the other day, and was made me reflect on I'm thinking, am I going to do a party or should I just go away on a trip? Yeah, I'm not sure what to do. Well, you've got plenty of time to plan because it's not till next year. So we'll talk about your nephew, Drew Williams.
Yes.
Now, that's where I saw you at Redfern Oval watching him run around.
Yep.
And I think he was in the ball. Now he's moving up to the flag.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about him.
Yeah, he was always a really good young player. I coached him when he was maybe under 10s or 11s or something, and he was. You can sort of pick and think, I think that guy's got it and he might make it. And I always thought to myself, he might have a crack at a chance, and he was looking like he just needed to come out of his shell a little bit. I thought when he was playing ball, and he got his crack and he really did. I thought he had a really good couple of games towards the end of the season in the flag, and I'm sure he'll get another go at it because I just think he did everything that was asked of him. So and that's all that you need to do. I kept saying to him, you'll get a shot, and you just got to be ready when you do, and that's how it goes. I suppose everything you've done in the past does count, but it's sort of like when you get that chance, it really is an important thing that you really show him what you can do on that one chance. And
Well, I think he's a centre, and you described him as a great defender. So look out for young Drew in the flag season. So it's a full season, so it'd be exciting for him and the family to see him get out there and play a bit of footy. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it'd be lovely just to have something to do on the weekends as well. Just to be Drew's playing here. Let's go out and watch him. So I am definitely looking forward to it. Yeah,
we'll have to get you to come along and sit with us in the centreline seats with the former players.
Yeah, I'd love to.
No worries. Now, you played junior reps as well, obviously, and there's one game in particular that we put up on Bunnies TV when you, Matty Mitchell, and Duncan McRae destroyed Joey's Knights. Do you remember that game?
I don't remember it as well as when I saw the video, and then I do. And I suppose I didn't really. I went for a period where I didn't play any football, so I probably didn't. I remember my mate Doc at the time, Sean. He said to me, I remember one time, "Well, you should come back and play football because you can play for South." And I was like, "What? What is this?" I was playing basketball at the time, and and he explained it to me, and so I went and tried out. And next thing I was playing in the Matthews Cup, so. I probably didn't understand the enormity of like Joey Johns and all. Like I'm not like a Brett Hill kind of guy who like would know every junior player he was playing against. And he's that type of guy. Where I was the opposite. So when I look back at it, I was thinking, geez, they did have some of these guys who Joey became an immortal. And at the time, look, we did destroy them, didn't we? And I watched the game, and Duncan and Matt Mitchell were freaks, weren't they?
Well, absolutely. So Matt, father of Trell and Shaq that are in the top 30 now. So, interesting that you played with those guys. So you played a bit of basketball. So growing up, like in that age group, rugby league wasn't actually a real priority. You could have been a basketballer because you had the size.
Yeah, so when I played when I was really young. So from 3, my dad put me when I was 3. So I played N grade back then. It was 3 years in a row, 3, 4, 5. And then by the time I got to, I think it was M grade, you played Tommy Bishop Shield.
Yep.
and we won the Tommy Bishop Shield. I remember there was no little mini fields back then. We played the grand final on Shark Park, and yeah, I remember winning that. And that's, if anyone doesn't know, that Tommy Bishop Shield was the winner of, like, the South comp played the winner of all the comps around. And yeah, I don't know if they still have that, do they?
I'm not sure, but I played in that too,
Yeah, so we won that. Did you win it?
Oh, I can't remember.
Well, we got the little shark trophy, so I've still got it, so I think somewhere. So, yeah, we played. So I did play, and then I just fell out. I stopped playing. I think we won I used to play for the Murrish Brothers Mustangs. It was cool.
Oh yeah.
So, and then I just stopped playing for years and played basketball, and I was enjoying basketball actually. And I suppose it was that time when American basketball was becoming quite big in Australia, and with Jordan and all those things. So that would be a big part of my life, watching that, then going down to school and playing and. Yeah, so I started playing. I was asked to play in a rep team for a basketball thing, and then I didn't do it because I think it was a bit of travelling to get to Alexandria or something. And then next thing, the football thing popped up.
Yeah. And you went on with it. I remember speaking to Joey about that game, and he said that Matt Mitchell was on another level that day. So he was electric as a youngster, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and I think I had forgotten how good he was until I watched back that video and thinking, wow, geez, he was like really. Like quite silky smooth, wasn't he? The things he could do and how he just floated around, and like really quite his body shape was like how do you describe it? Quite
like slight.
Yeah,
maybe?
That's the
and
just
quick.
Yeah,
and also your mate Duncan, he could play too.
Oh yeah, Duncan's for me the best halfback I got to play with. So, and I played so lucky when I did come back and play rugby. He was the half at Matraville, and that's where I played, and also for the Matthews Cup and SG Ball. So, I just felt like I could read what he was going to do at this always. So then he had this great chip over the top, and I always just knew something in his body language that when he was going to do it. So then I was just. Yeah, I scored so many tries just by him doing all the work and me just being there at the end just to catch the pass and score.
Unreal. I love it. You played 221 NRL games, 90 tries and 39 appearances for Castleford, scoring 18 tries. So you had a career to be proud of, didn't you?
Yeah, I am pretty proud of my career when I look back at it. I always wish that it was better than it was, and I suppose
don't we all?
Yeah. I had a real dip in the middle of my career, and I would have loved to have stayed at South for my whole career, and that would have been for me the ultimate thing to have done. But at the time, South, we weren't in the position that we're in now. I think I've had a conversation with you about that before. We were broke. We had no money. We're asking the juniors to help us. They were saying it's not in their charter to do that. And then I remember I can't remember who someone came in charge. I made the Kangaroo train on squad one year after having like a really good year, and then the following year was thinking like this is going to be my year to really try and push for some more representative at State of Origin or something. And I went in and sat with the boss at the time, and he was like, well, last year, look, Alan Jones overspent by $500,000, so this year we're going to spend $500,000 under the cap. Wow. I was like, we came dead last. Yeah. If you're going to spend less than $500,000, we're going to just come last again. And he said, that's all we can afford to do. And I thought, I've got to get out of here. So, I remember asking my manager, we've got to move on, otherwise what am I going to do? I'm never going to make it by just staying here. And that's when I ended up over to the Roosters, and it all fell apart because it didn't work.
Didn't work out there.
No.
Which is, no one's going to complain here on Bunnies TV about that. But we'll go back.
Yeah.
Tell us about your first grade debut.
So back in the days, you would know, you would play the grade below, and if you played more than half of that one full half, they would come around and say to you, right, Mellor, you're on the bench for there was no fresh reserves. So, Mellor, you're on the bench. So I played the whole game of 23s or whatever it was at the time, and then they said you can play. You're on the bench for reserve grade. Played half of a game in reserve grade, so that got me to be fresh reserve. Well, they said, we want you to sit on the bench for first grade, but I had no thought that I was going to be put on there, and it was freezing cold. We didn't warm up. We just sat there, freezing cold under these blankets. I used to have these big. Do you remember those big grey blankets?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and then next thing they've called me, and I'm like, going to go on, and I was thinking, geez. And then I just remember the thing I remember most is that it was like so fast. It was like 2 to 3 times the speed of anything I'd ever played at, and everything was moving so much quicker. And I just felt so like a fish out of water there, whereas I hadn't felt that coming from the junior reps into 23s or 23s into reserve grade. It felt like this is a natural progression to do, and this was just like boom, it just really went up. And the level and the strength of people. Like I tried to tackle someone. I've told this story before, and I often stutter when I say it. This is one of the things on when I first was interviewed on TV, but I was trying to tackle this guy, and he held me like this, and I could not budge his arm. I couldn't tackle him. So there's someone had to actually come in and help me tackle the guy, and I realised, wow, like I was a big kid, but I was not strong. I'd never done any weights or anything formal like that, and we really hadn't done any formal type of training in any way except what we did in the junior reps. So. Yeah, that was something I needed to then do. Yeah, I was just naturally strong, but hadn't. Well, these other guys were probably doing some form of weights, and I wasn't.
Yeah, well, times have changed, and you said the key word there. You were a kid. You're only 16 years and 10 months, which is the youngest ever Rabbitoh.
Yeah.
So, and now they've changed the rule. You got to be, I think, 17, don't you? So no one's ever going to break it.
No one's ever going to break it. Isn't it lovely?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
One of a kind, mate. You're going to be one of a kind.
Yeah.
And that was in 1991 at the SFS, and you had a win over the Chargers, so you got to go in and sing the team song in your debut.
That's right. Yes. I would have known the song from the lower grades. Yeah. It's a great song, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I do love singing that song.
Yeah, that's right.
I've often belted that out at karaoke, and people are going, what's this bloke doing? But don't worry, it's the Rabbitohs fans usually like it anyway when I do it. So anyway, now we were both at South in 92, and unfortunately we didn't get to play together because I broke my leg in round 1, and then you played your first game, I think your second career game in round 5. So we missed being teammates by about 4 rounds, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, that we were that close to it, to actually having a game together. Yeah, I remember I remember that game better than I remember the one at my debut, because Manoa, I was ready to play then. I was thinking I will get a crack. Even though I was only in year 12, I suppose I was quite confident, thinking, I am going to get.
We're 17 now. You're a big fella.
I am going to get a crack. And so he did his hammy, Manoa. And at the time, he was amazing. Like, he could kick the ball. Do you remember how far he could kick the ball?
Yeah, I played with him at Botany Rams.
Right.
So we go way back.
So anyway, he tears his hamstring in this game against the West. I'm pretty sure it was out at Campbelltown. Yeah, and I was thinking, well, I'll probably go on, and I did, and I went on, and I remember that the first time I touched the ball, I get put by Tugger in this hole, and I run nearly the length of the field, and the lock broke from the scrum and caught me. How embarrassing! Like this far from the line, but anyway, we scored. Our team scored, but I. Would have been lovely the first time I touched the ball. I scored, yeah.
Well, and the rest was history after that. They thought, oh, look at this kid go. We'll give him a few more games, and they did. And so do you remember your first try in first grade?
I do, yeah, because I'd been always just one of those guys who always scored tries. Like, I think when I was playing junior reps, I used to always look at who was scoring tries, and I was at least getting 1 or 2 a game, sometimes 3s, and I was like,
I
was just that kind of, you were the same. I remember hearing about you, same type of guy. So I just was. Then I got to first grade and just couldn't score, and I was like, and I'm not getting as much ball anymore. I wasn't as confident to go in and get the ball. There's a lot of like people who are a lot more dominant, and they were commanding the ball more than me. So I was sort of doing a lot of defence, which I hadn't been my strength, and then it became a strength of mine. So anyway, I do remember I finally started feeling more confident. It was against the Broncos at Old Lang Park, and just seemed it was quite an innocuous thing. All of a sudden I beat some guy, and I was in clear air and then scored. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and then from there I was back to scoring more regularly, which was good.
Once you opened your account, the floodgates opened, and you never forget your first try, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So your first stint at South was 6 seasons from 91 to 96. Any memorable moments or favourite teammates you can remember from that time?
I really enjoyed playing with a lot of the junior guys that I had come through with, and that was like because we all knew each other's game so well. So as I said, it was nice playing with Duncan McRae, Shannon Donato, Paul McNicholas, all these guys who they were in my junior rep teams and we'd gone through. But I also got to play a fair bit with guys like Tricky and Fieldsy, Brownie, Tugger as well, even a little bit, which was nice. But the guys who were actually my generation, I felt like. We had this kind of knowledge of each other's game so well, and that really felt this familiarity of when we did play, and I think that always made me play my best when I felt comfortable and confident. Yeah.
And I suppose the camaraderie you build at a footy team like that. So even the guys you didn't grow up with, you know, they're sort of your mates for life. You've just got this connection, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. It is interesting. Even guys who you've played against, you just see them in most of the guys you played footy against. You know, it's like you stop and have a chat with people.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's a lovely kind of community, isn't it, that we have?
It is. Now, you mentioned Fieldsy there.
Yeah.
The 1994 Challenge Cup against the Broncos, you weren't the favourites.
No.
But you got the chocolates.
Yeah, we sure did. Well, Fieldsy was really on fire during that whole period of his career, and I think he went on after that to play for Manly, didn't he? I think he might have. He might have then gone and played for a rep footy. Did he play for Australia?
I think I might have to check that. I think he might have.
He was one of the best halfbacks in the game, you know, for a while there, you know, and he was a really skillful guy. So. I did really, much as I said previously, Duncan was the best halfback I played with. He also was one of those guys I really loved playing with him, and he started to know my game, and I knew his, and I'm sure he put me through for a number of tries as well. So that was really enjoyable.
And you were coached by the great man Bob McCarthy too.
Yes and no. That was an unusual period. I wish I had like an opportunity to play more under him, whereas really he came in and he was sort of like I'm not sure what the deal was, but really Ken Shine was the coach at that time, and he was sort of there, and I'm not sure if he agreed to that or didn't agree to it, but Alan was sort of the boss, and he sort of was, and then Ken was the coach, and Bob was there, but it was an unusual period. Maybe I was just young at the time and didn't understand what was going on, but yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have played more under him, but not saying that I didn't enjoy playing under Ken and Alan as well. And I really like Alan Jones, and I still see him now and sit down and have good chats with him, and they're all lovely people, all of them, yeah. Yep,
we've had a chat to AJ on the show. So what are your memories of the Super League war?
Yeah, well, it was exciting. And I think I'm really lucky that I was in that era, and you know, when I think of it, I thought of it purely as a pay TV war, really. Like, you know, do you remember when we finally got pay TV, or we had previous, that was, you know, free-to-air channels, and then we got Fox and Optus. Optus signs the NRL. Fox have no rugby league, the biggest sport in New South Wales, you know, and which is going to be the main television audience, and so they had to build their own comp. So for me, it was never about any kind of loyalty to go, oh God, I signed Super League, and I wasn't
played
like,
on both sides.
Yeah, I was not like, oh, I'm betraying anyone to do this. It was all, if you know, and I've read into a lot. It was, you know, no disrespect to Alan. Alan had to deal with Optus, so of course he was the boss at the time, and we had a falling out at the time because I was like, well, I've got to do what's best for me, and best for me and my family was I was going to get offered a lot more to go to Super League. So at the time when it happened, most people negotiated with Alan at actually the club, but a few of us, I think it was myself, Fieldsy, and Jason Sinclair, we had to actually go into the NRL headquarters. I waited there all day. There was a number of other players sitting in there thinking, oh, what's happening? Finally got in there. I had 2 more years to go on my South contract, and they said, I remember Phil Gould looked at it and goes, you can't play anyway in this Super League. You've got 2 more years to go. And he goes, we'll give you this much money. And I was like, oh, and then my manager was there, and he goes, you got to sign here. And I was like, and it was like 10 years with a 10-year option or something ridiculous. And I was like, I'm not signing this. I'm not going to sign this. And they were like, and he was like, and then my manager was like, just, you know, don't be so.
Think about it.
It was like, it's like I was upsetting the apple cart, and I should just agree to it all. And I was just, even that. And I was in there with no one. I felt like my manager was on their side as well. And I just said no. And I walked out and said, let's call Super League and see what they're offering. Because for me, it was just a financial decision. It's just going to doing the same. It's why I suppose I'm pretty passionate about live golf. Why is the PGA so think they have the monopoly on professional golfers? They should be able to do whatever they like. They're professional athletes just plying their trade. Yeah. And that's all I was doing. I was a professional rugby league player, and I was just playing where I was going to get paid and looked after best. Yeah.
Well, I completely agree with your statements there on live golf, and you know, because, and it was similar with the ARL and the Super League, like the old establishment against these new upstarts, and but like in the live golf example, there's no tournaments in Australia. They was like, we're going to have our majors in America and England, and you can get stuffed.
I know.
So now we've got this great tournament in Adelaide.
How good is that?
And so
I agree.
Yeah. So, and in the end, the war was over in '98. Like the live golf thing's been resolved too now, and so the NRL era began.
Yeah. Well, I never played. I did play Super League. Sorry, I was going to say I never played under my Super League contract because I still had these 2 years to go on my South contract. I then signed Super League and go and sign with the Roosters, which was bizarre. But Phil Gould was the State of Origin coach, and he's signing me saying, "You'll play Origin this year if you come along." And I was like, "Yeah, great. I'm going to go and play with the Roosters." And then that didn't work. Halfway through the season, I'm playing reserve for reserve grade. I'm not even getting a go.
Jeez.
So then I go. I asked for a release. They said no, and then I had a bit of a war of words with Gus, and I remember he rang me once and said, "You want your release?" And I said, "Yep." And he said, "Consider it done," and hung up on me. And I didn't speak to Gus for probably 10 years.
Wow.
After that. Now it seems okay when I see him. It seems like we're okay. But anyway, I then went to Super League and said, I can come along. And they were like, "Well, where are you going to fit in? We'll send you to Adelaide." And I was like, no, I signed a clause in my contract where you can't make me travel more than 25 kilometres from my home.
Nice.
Yeah, so then they were like, "Well, the club's there. No one wants you in these clubs." So then they had to take me. So then I played reserve grade for Canterbury for that whole 97 thing. We won the comp. Duncan was there playing reserve grade for Canterbury as well. And I was thinking, yeah, this is going to be, it'll work out then the following year. So Chris Anderson was leaving from there, and Folksy was going to be, was the coach, and he was my coach. So I thought next year hopefully I'll play first grade. So
that's what happened.
Not really.
No.
I got this. We went away on a pre-season camp. Well, I was, and I was thinking I was going to be. I was talking to them, and Folksy became the coach. And then, we went to Barrington Tops, and I got this viral, weird hepatitis thing, and I didn't get hepatitis, but I got some virus anyway. And I got Super 6, and I missed about the first 5-6 games of the season. And then when I did come back, I wasn't in any good shape. I'd missed most of the preseason. I'd lost 10 kilos. I was really skinny, and I played just spits and spurts of it, and then back to reserve grade. And then it was only until I got to finally the year after. I don't know why. Luckily that Cronulla signed me, because I always thought I had such a great year in reserve grade at Canterbury. Got sick, didn't get to play that year. Didn't really show my best form, so I was lucky that they did. And then I went to the Sharks, and then from there I just played first grade for the rest of my career. It was luckily. So,
So you played some of your best footy at the Sharks.
I did.
And you unluckily missed out on a few finals games where you could have nearly went all the way.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I played finals football so I think I played nearly just as many games. I think it was 100 and something for South, 100 and something also for Cronulla. But every year I was at Cronulla, we made the semi-finals. So that was really enjoyable. 3 times we got to the game before the grand final. And it was a really successful time. So my winning percentage, if I hadn't played at South, would be really high, because we won the majority of games I played in. It was the complete opposite of playing South. Not that saying I didn't enjoy it, but it was tough times. We didn't have the calibre of players that the current crop of people or the current club has. I mean, they're a club that people, if they're looking to sign someone, players would be like, "Oh, I'd like to go there." When I was playing there, and people didn't want to go there. You had to pay people more money to come to South, because it was a struggling club. Yeah,
we're going to talk about that in a minute. But Nathan Merritt was at the Sharks when you were there.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He couldn't get a crack there, so he mostly played reserve and was killing it in reserve grade. And just couldn't get a start. So I mean, we had they had some good wingers there. I really wanted to play wing there and couldn't get a start on the wing, and I ended up playing centre and back row a lot of times. So I didn't play any wing there, I don't think. Mostly centre.
So you're big enough to play in the back row. I played a little bit of lock, but so how did you find that, playing the forwards?
I didn't enjoy it, but we had unlimited interchange. So I just pretty much go as hard as I could, stick my hand up and say, "I'm got to come off."
Well, that's a bonus, isn't it?
I couldn't do it I couldn't do it in an era where there's only limit, because that's not my makeup. I'm all fast twitch, and I'm not an endurance athlete.
I always admired the forwards that I played with, like your Les Davidsons and David Boyle, and just the heavy work they got through. It was a real workload.
Oh yeah. But those guys, so let's say we did a beep test at the start of the season. I'd come last in the beep test. I can't continually run. I'm just not good at it. And those guys could run until it got to a stage where it was impossible to reach the other end because of the speed. But they could just keep running and running all day, those guys. Yeah. And I unfortunately just don't have that. Much to the ire of a lot of my coaches who thought I just wasn't doing. But my thing was them. Let's do a sprint race.
Explosive.
I would win the sprint. And I say, how come this doesn't add as much value to me as a trainer? Because I'm I'm explosive and I'm fast. It's like I was always considered the lazy trainer or the poor trainer, but I'm like, but how come if we judge it on this other metric, I'm the best at it, but I'm the worst at this?
Yeah,
it's
true.
unusual. It's like it's a badge of honor if you're fit, and if you're not fit, you're like, oh, he's really lazy and he doesn't really want to train and he's not good at it. And it's like, yeah, but how come the other thing's not just as revered?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And shout out to Merrow. I hope you're well. He's recovering from his little turn a couple of weeks ago, so he's a champion guy. Now, he ended up back at the Rabbits in 2006, 2007. Couple of your teammates there, John Sutton and Buddy Gordon.
Yeah.
So
good guy, both good guys. Yeah. So I went to England. And my plan was I'll go to England. I'll stay there for 5 or 6 years, and I'll retire. And the club I was with over there got relegated, and so then I was like, oh, do I just retire now, or do I move around again within England? And I thought I had 3 children all at school in England, and I thought I don't want to stuff them up too much. So I thought we'll just come back. And I was thinking that I probably would retire and just get a real job. And then I got offered another contract with Cronulla, and I was thinking, oh, do I want to take it? And then it's hard when you haven't got anything else to actually do, which I hadn't organised yet, and then you've got this offer of money in front of you, and that's employment. So I took it. And then at the end of the year, though, or during that year, I always kept saying to my wife at the time, I'm going to retire at the end of the year. I'm done. I'm just done with this. But by this stage, I think I'd already played 15 years, and I'm like, I've had enough. I've enjoyed my career, and I also don't want to get to the stage where it's like I'm no longer making or playing first grade. Or I haven't got the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And that was always a fear of mine. I don't know why, but it was a big fear.
Time was going to run out.
Correct.
On your being at the top level.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden at the end of the year, I got offered this contract by South again. And again, the same thing happened. I really hadn't organised or hadn't cemented anything to do as a real job. And here is this contract, which was decent money, and I just thought, I'll take it. And then I thought, well, if something comes up in between there, and then I won't actually take the contract, I'll do this real job. But then I started playing, and then my first year back at South, I didn't play very well, and I really was thinking potentially I've gone 1 year too far. And then, I don't know what happened. I do know what happened. The next year when I turned up to preseason training, I remember we did the beep test again, was out at a really poor level, probably poor for me. And they then said, right, you're in. So here I am in my last year of rugby league. I've been playing for 17 years. I'm the oldest person, I think, by this stage playing. So I'd gone from being the youngest to the oldest. And they said, you're in the fat squad, the extra squad. And I was like, why? And they were like, oh, well, your result. I said, well, I intentionally didn't do anything all preseason because I wanted to just give my body a rest, And they were like, no, you're in this squad. And that really bugged me. And I'd never been in that kind of a squad before. So I really trained hard. And my kids still tell this story of like, I trained on Christmas Day, but I made them train with me. And they're like, on Christmas Day, after they opened their presents, said, right, now we're going to get training. Like, no, we're not. And I was like, yeah, we are. We're all going. And so I really got fit, I think. And I think my last year was one of my best or better years. And it's lovely that I can think that I did finish in first grade. My last game was in a semi-final at Brookvale, scored a try, and I really felt like I could have kept playing. And subsequent to retiring, I was listening to a podcast, and it was about Kelly Slater. And Kelly Slater was talking about how, as this new crop of surfers came through, someone said to him, well, it was a mentor of his actually said to him, you should retire now before, these other sides start beating you. And he said, why would I do that? He said, I'll be happy if they come through and were better than me, and I wouldn't feel any, I wouldn't be embarrassed to be not at my best and to still be having to compete against those guys. And I wish I had that philosophy, because when you actually stop playing, and then after a few years, I couldn't play anymore. But there was a time where I still could have, and I chose not to because of this feeling that I wasn't going to be playing first grade, and thought that would be such a negative. And I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, just a mindset that, maybe cost yourself a season or two.
Yeah, but I wasn't in that mindset, and it probably took a few years and maybe I just needed it's easier in hindsight now, because I'd stopped playing and I'd stopped training for a number of years, and I was like, I could have done it. But at the time, it would have been really hard. No, I had a neck injury, and I was really looking forward to retiring in a way, which is weird, but I don't know. I remember I got a funny story that Russell Crowe rings me on the way to the Red and Green Ball in the last year of playing. When I'd said I was retiring, I signed with the NRL to become a referee, And he rings me. I'd never really had any one-on-one conversations with Russell before. And he says to me, "What are you doing?" He's got that real commanding voice. "What are you doing next year?" And I was like, "Oh, I've signed with the referees. I'm going to do that." And he was like, "You sure? Want to go around again?" And I was like, "No." I said, "Look, Justin Taylor at the time had said to me, it's good to be leaving when people want you to stay rather than staying when people want you to go." And I was like, that was in tune with what I was talking to about previously. And I thought, so I said that to him. He said, "Oh, that's good." And he said, "Anyway, I've given you my mobile. If you ever need anything, just call me." "Oh, you've got my mobile." I was like, "Oh, that's pretty chuffed." And as I said, I had a car for, I think Webby was in the car with his partner, and I was in the car with my partner at the time. Anyway, and then that's October, November, when the red and green ball time is. It comes to about February or March, and I won't name the person, but I get called by someone from the club in the management, and he says to me, "You've got to return your Armani suit that we got measured for, that was custom made for me, and my Armani shoes and all the stuff that we got." And I'm like, no way. I said, "I'm retired, and that was made by me." And we said, "Russell flew those guys from Italy over and measured." I said, "There's no way I'm giving that back. You have to. It's a salary cap breach and all this stuff." And he kept going on about it, and I was like, this can't be right. Then all of a sudden, I thought, Russell Crowe. So I said to him, I'll call you back. And I hang up, and I ring Russell. And I don't realise that he's not in Australia. He's in America, and I could tell he's just woken up. And I said to him, and he must have saved my name. And he goes, "Paul." And I said, "Yeah, Russell." And he goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Oh, are you in Australia?" He goes, "No, I'm filming and I can't remember the show, and it's in the middle of the night there." And I was like, "Oh, sorry." And he goes, "That's all right. What's the problem?" I said, and I say the person's name. I said, "He wants my Armani suit back." And he goes, "Leave it with me." I reckon it would have been a minute later, I get a call back from the original guy, and he goes, "Did you ring Russell Crowe?" And I said, "Yep." He goes, "Keep your suit." Clunk.
That's unreal.
And then when I tell my mates, I said, "Yeah, that's what you used. You had the Russell's number. He gave you the one opportunity. You used it to get your suit."
Yeah. We still got his number. Let's get him on the.
No, I don't. I don't have it.
Yeah. So Roy Asotasi signed with South that year in 2007, and that set the club on a path to eventual, glory in 2014. I think.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I think he was he made it at the time. He was the premier, front rower in the game, and for him to come to the club, I think was a shot in the arm, and also showed other players that this is, with Roy's going there, this is actually a okay place to go. Whereas previously, I think people were like, not willing to go there. And I know they did have to pay him a lot of overs to get him there, but he was that kind of a level of player. So it was in line with, I suppose he could have commanded that money, in my mind, anywhere, because that's the type of level of player he was. So, yeah, I think it really was that was a significant signing. I mean, Russell taking over the club, that also changed the branding of the club as well. It became like, well, look, it's owned by Russell Crowe and Holmes Court at the time. And I think that's really, it did change. Things changed from there, and it was a really positive thing. Yeah, I mean, do you remember when it happened? There was people that were against it. Do you know that them buying it? And
I do remember. Yes.
And you look back now and think, wow, imagine if they hadn't. Would we even be around? Would South even be around? So we're so fortunate that he did do that, and that he is, made the club what it. He's such a significant part of making the club what it is today, isn't he? Yeah,
true. And the yes and no vote, and people still today are rattling on about it, and it's like, well, look, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah,
look
yeah,
where we
yeah,
are. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so you end up over at Castleford for a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
How'd you like that?
I loved it. I always wanted to play there. When I was young, watching football, that I used to love watching the players who went over there in the off season. So when I played, you couldn't. It was in the seasons ran concurrently. So you had they play over in the summer and we played in the winter, so same time. But when I was younger, and you would remember this, they actually played in the off season. So yeah, they played in the winter over there. So I used to love and thinking, I definitely want to do that. I'd love to have that experience of going over to another country, living over there and playing. And unfortunately, I couldn't do it as well as do rugby league here. But I didn't. I really enjoyed it. It's a different competition altogether. It really probably did prolong my career. It's a lot easier.
True.
It's a lot slower. So there's not that. You remember I was talking about when you first come to rugby league.
Yeah.
You first grade. I realised, wow, this is so fast. And it's not until, have you ever seen a camera when they put the camera down at the level of the players and you think, my son, when we were watching once, he was like, "Why have they put that in fast motion?" And I'm like, "No, that is actually the speed of it." And when the camera is up high in the grandstand, everything looks so slow and easy. And then when it's at the ground level, you realise how quick everything is happening. It's happening like you've got split seconds to make decisions, and everything is done so quickly. Yeah. So that doesn't happen in the Super League. It's only slight, but you've got more time. The defensive line doesn't rush up at you. I was really loving it. I was like, this is great. This is a bit like playing reserve grade back in the thing. But I'm playing in the premier competition over there, so I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I went over there with a knee injury, so I didn't play very well the first season, and the fans were a bit into me, so that was a good experience too. I mean, so it's good that I can actually see it's a positive. I mean, I remember they had this like we went through 3 different coaches in the first season there, and the fans wanted to have this like intervention where they called the people the signings, because I was like the big Aussie signing, and my coach was like, "You can't go." And I said, no, I want to go. And they're like, "What do you want to go for? They're really going to give it to you." And I said, "Well, I haven't been playing well. Maybe I need to have a bit of a rev up." So I went there, and then this guy stands up and was like, has this like, hopeless, and you're hopeless, and you haven't done anything, and I said, no, I just sort of copped it and said, I haven't. And I said, I've come over with a bit of a knee injury, and hopefully I'm going to get better. And the guys, how many tries are you going to score? Because I was towards the end of the year. How many tries are you going to score next year? I said, next year I'll score one in every game I played. And they all laughed. And I was like, and I did. And so I think I played 18 games and I scored 18 tries. So,
there you go.
Yeah, and so it was it was really lovely when I left. I won the Player of the Year award or something when I left. And then these people who had been really into me that year, the next year came and said, I remember when you said that at that thing, and I thought you were taking the piss out of us, and it was really good that you've had a great year. And I said, look, people go through bad form. It doesn't mean that I wasn't trying or wasn't upset with myself that I wasn't playing well. I was, and sometimes I don't really know why I wasn't playing well, but I wasn't fit. I was injured, and it wasn't at my best, but I was still wanting to. And I think if people understand that I'm not out there going, I don't really care. I did care. I cared that the people didn't think that I was playing or putting in effort.
Yeah. I mean, we eventually won over the Castleford fans by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, I felt like I did by the end.
Yeah. And you mentioned you went to refereeing. So how did that come about? And did you do any first grade games?
No, I never. I did. I was a video referee.
Okay, yeah.
For about 4 years. I never really wanted to do it, but I remember Ian Schubert came up with this initiative and sort of said, and my mate of mine actually at the time, Jason Stevens, was working in the NRL, and he gave me a bit of a heads up and said, listen, they want to get some players involved. Yep. And so he said, I think you should go. He said, I think they want you to do it part-time. And I was like, he sort of came up with his scheme, and he said, why don't you, when they come to you, say, yeah, all right, but I want it to be full-time, and I want to do this and that. And I was like, yeah, right. Yeah. So when Ian came to me and said that thing, I pitched him. I said, well, I think we should do it full-time and make it a cadetship and really give it a proper crack. And so 3 of us did do that, and that came about. Myself, Henry Paranara, and the guy from I can't remember, Luke Phillips.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, and it was funny. First year, we didn't do really much with any of our first grade referees. We just went out, and because we'd never refereed before, and refereed school footy, and I was driving all over New South Wales and just refereeing kids, and just building up like this bank of like games to referee. And at first we were hopeless, and I was never a good referee really, because referees are so instinctive in what they do, and there's no hesitation, and it looks right. Yep. And what happens when I referee is like I would see something happen like a knock on, and I'd go, that's a knock on. Then I would do it. Instead of the other guys just instinctively, because they've done it from then they're young, just do it. And it always looked a bit odd. And I remember the coaches would always say, you look like you're thinking about it too much. And I'm like, well, it's just not my instinct when I see a knock on to blow a whistle. Yeah. And then I couldn't blow the whistle in the correct tunes. And they were like, all your whistles sound the same. And I'm like, well, how do I... is there a coach that teach me how to make it sound like a penalty or a start of the... I had the same whistle.
That was it.
So I was never good at it. And they run a lot. I can't believe how much they run. And I just was not, again, able to run and then as much as they ran. And I kept getting injured because they run backwards a lot. Even though they tell you not to, they say you should do like a cricketer's run and turn and that. Yep. I would often run backwards, which the problem with running backwards is you use your calves a lot. Yeah. So then I tore my calf about 3 times or 4 times. Yeah. So then I was always injured. So then I just started always hanging around the video referees because they were like didn't have to run and I wasn't running. So, yeah. And that's how I got into that.
Yeah. So the video refs evolved into the bunker now.
Yeah,
sort of similar, but not the same. Quite the same. 'Cause they got the super slow mo, and it's. I think it's good the bunker because they more often than not they get it right.
I don't mind it. My favourite thing when I was a video referee was the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt. So we had this little box, and you'd have these 3 buttons, and you'd just be yes, no, and the benefit of the doubt. And as I said again, I had mates of mine who were in the media at the time, working, as commentators, and they were saying to me, because I was like, why do you go so hard on an opinion? Because then what happens is if the video referee comes up with a different opinion, what happens is then you're painting yourself into a corner. You can't just flip. So then, and it's like sometimes they're right and you're wrong, but they just have to stick with what they've said. And he says, well, we've got to fill in time. It can't just be no talking during this period. So then I came up with this way I would do it is I would just try and make it as quick as I could. And if I in that early period, if I couldn't decide, benefit of the doubt. Yeah. And then people, I thought, and I was progressing through the things, I was like, this works. And I was like, yeah, so just look at it a couple of times. I can't decide. Benefit of the doubt. Everyone's happy. Oh, well, it's benefit of the doubt. Stop looking at it before. And then I was thinking, if I can make a decision before the commentators make a decision and get locked into one, then they'll be like, oh, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, move on. And that was happy. So that was going great. And I'm thinking, and then I got to the stage where I was getting 2 games a week because I was like going good at it. And then I made this huge mistake. And then it was like, and it was against the Cowboys. And the Cowboys had a number of decisions on field made against them to the point where it was like Paul Green and Jonathan Thurston were saying at the time, oh, there's something, going on and it's like deliberate against us, which it wasn't. And then I just come up with this. It was a obstruction ruling, and I look at this defender, and this defender has clearly been obstructed, but in my mind, he still hasn't given enough effort to try and he just runs into the guy who's the lead runner, right?
Yep.
As is to say, oh, the lead runner's taken me out, which he had.
Yeah.
But I wanted him to try and actually get to it, so I just look at it and say, oh, he's just
defensive read.
It's defensive read. And the guy next to me, I'm the senior video referee, and I've got and I've got another one who's not the senior with me, and he says, "No, Paul, it's an obstruction." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm overruling you. I'm the senior video referee," and I just overrule him, and I get it. And then I don't realise. You don't realise you're in this box, so he don't, and I'm only got him as my bounce things off him with whether we're right or wrong. He thinks opposite to me. I think I'm right. So I walk out of there at the end of the thing. Paul Green standing there. People are wanting to kill me. Security are escorting me, and I'm like, what's going on? I can't hear the commentators what they're saying, but they're all going mental about it. Everyone's really up in arms. And then when I get into the thing, the boss is in there shaking his head. What were you thinking? And I'm like, what happened? And they show me it, and I'm like, oh God, that's really an obstruction. I can't overrule that. And then they were like, well, we're gonna have to stand you down. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. So then I got stood down for 6 weeks, and it was up in Gosford, and it was in the media. They actually named me. Normally they don't name the video referee. I remember Peter Sterling came out and said, Paul Mellor should know better. He's a former player, and how could he get that wrong? And I was like, shit. So anyway, it was Easter. I had to get my kids Easter presents on the way, some Easter eggs on the way home, and so I stopped at Tarrant Point, and I thought, I had this hat, so I put this hat right over my head, really
trying to stay out of sight,
really low. I go and get these eggs. I'm at the register. I'm nearly out, and then this guy looks at me. And he looks under me. He goes, "You're Paul Mellor, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "What about that video referee last night? They are so," and he went on and on about it, but didn't know it was me. And so I said to him, "That was me." And he was like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad, mate. Wasn't it?"
Oh, that's the best. So you moved on from refereeing, and did you go to get a degree after that, or did you already get your degree? It was a Bachelor of Movement?
Bachelor of Human Movement. So that's straight from school. So
okay.
Alan Jones, who was the boss at the time, was really was good about that because, I often had to miss some training to go to tutorials and lectures. And I remember one time, I played this game against who was it? Gold Coast. I scored three tries. Had this really great game, and it was leading up. I think I was the top try scorer at the time, or I was coming second or something. There was a lot of media around. That this is when I made the Kangaroo Training Squad. Whether I was going to be the dark. I think the big heading was the dark horse.
Yeah.
But I went away for the week. I went away all week on this university what do you call it? Camp thing, because it was some thing that I had done, and missed it all. And it was like, Alan was like, he thought it was quite good. He goes, actually, you just go away and come back and we'll play on the weekend. So imagine doing that now, and that's what they allowed me to do. So I played on the weekend, went straight to this camp all weekend. It was down in the Blue Mountains or something, and then came back on the weekend and played again on the weekend. Yeah. Didn't train or play or do anything like that.
And quite often people will get some sort of uni degree, but they never use it. But I think that's helped you with your current career, has it?
It did. So, I wanted to be a PE teacher. So that was what my degree was. And I actually never completed it, so I can't teach. But what it gave me was this, the human movement component, and I all completed. And then so I always had this knowledge of, anatomy and physiology and biomechanics. And so when I was in the doctor's room, I was always picking up people's x-rays and diagnosing people, and people have a bit of a joke that I was Dr. Mellor. And so, when I retired, that's what I wanted to do. And so I finally got a job in that, and I work now in theatres as like I'm employed by the implant company, and I know you've had a partial knee replacement, and you gave me a call and asked me some bit of advice. And so I'm in the surgery while they're having it. I'm not scrubbed in, but I'm sort of like the technical advisor for the implant company during the case.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. You told me, so you're advising the nurses and sometimes even the doctors on how to put the knee replacement in.
Correct, yeah.
Things that have got to be done. That's quite interesting that you're that involved in the actual surgeries.
Yeah, I think a lot of people find it really difficult to comprehend. Is that you're in there and you're talking to the doctor and you're explaining things, and I'm like, it's pretty much industry standard. So for anyone who has a hip replacement, knee replacement, partial knee, there is someone like me, someone employed by the implant company. He's making sure that, all the instruments and implants are there. Then he's also instructing the scrub nurse on what the surgeon's preferences will be in terms of the workflow. And then also you're advising the surgeon in terms of the capabilities and differentiating parts that the implants that we have. It has like a number of sizes, and they're quite modular and things you can do, and you'll give you're not telling him how to open the patient up and do any of that sort of stuff. That's his domain, and he's just asking you once he gets in there, right? What size are you thinking this would be? If I go from this size to this size, what is the change it's going to be in this kind of? And he'll like in technical terms, what change will happen, and what can I do to still recreate the anatomy and what I need to do if I'm going to do these changes. Yeah.
And you've been doing it a long time, and I don't know how much feedback you get, but you really are doing good work and changing people's lives, because I know from my own experience, it's given me a whole new lease of life. I feel like I've got my existence back.
Yeah, right.
So, do you ever get much feedback, or because you sort of keep that distance?
I never have any patient interaction. So the patient is already anaesthetised by the time I'm entering the theatre, and I only see them. Well, I see the joint that we've opened up, either the knee joint or the hip joint, and then I don't get to see them post-operatively. But which is something I really do miss, and why I remember ringing you and saying how's it going?
Yeah,
so I'd love to be that involvement. I mean, I would have loved to have been a physio. The funny thing is, a lot of physios are actually doing my role. Yeah, it's interesting, and I always say to them, "Why do you want to do what this role? I'd love to be the physio." And they're like, "It's not what you think. You're thinking it as like what you would have experienced as a rugby league player. Treating professional athletes. A lot of it is treating people who, are chronically in pain and aren't going to get better, and you're just managing that, and it's old people's feet and old people's hips and backs. It's been frustrating and tiring.
Well, my physio, Alar at Mascot Physio, shout out to him, and he's been great, and he's aware of all the surgeons, but the stuff that he works with me with is working muscles around the leg, the calf, and because the your quads waste away, and unless you work at it, and getting your legs straight, you're not going to get back to where you want to get back to. But if you put that work in, you can get such good results. Yeah,
for sure. Oh, a hip replacement, they say, is one of the besides cataract surgery, is one of the most successful surgeries you can have. It's got great outcomes. So
there you go.
And I mean, knee replacements are a little bit more complex, and there is there's a theory that potentially up to 20% of people are dissatisfied with their knee replacement, but I think that's coming along, and I'm not sure that's exactly true. I think it's also quite a successful operation, and the surgeons are pretty amazing guys who perform their surgeries.
Shout out to Dr. Loeffler. He did a great job. And he had, when I went back and saw him, he had his interns in there and he was putting up my x-ray and was using me as a bit of a poster child, saying, I put in this Oxford thing and it's the best option. And so he was happy with it. I was happy with it. And, yeah, so it's a really good thing to get that done.
Yeah, nice. And the Oxford is actually produced by my company, Zimmer Biomet. So, yeah, pretty good.
Shout out. We got a bit of cross-promotion. And I didn't know that until we said that. Right. So there you go. We found out. So, what else do you like doing besides footy and working, mate?
So, yeah, well, I think there is a bit of a, when you finish rugby as a professional athlete, there is a bit of a hole in your life. And I suppose for me, that hole was doing something competitive. So I loved playing game, I'm so competitive. And so anything. So what I did straight after retiring, I took up tennis. I was playing comp tennis 2-3 times a week, and that was filling that void. And I was continually still, exercising and competing. So I really loved that. But then I got a bit of a foot injury, and I could no longer do that. So then I took up golf.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's become my passion now. And again, the great thing about golf is I don't even need to find someone of an equal level to me to play them, which you do in tennis. You have to get someone equal. You don't want someone who's a lot better than you, and like, this is not good. It's not fun for him. And there's someone who's not at my level, that's not fun for me. So with golf, you're just playing against the course, and you've got a handicap. And I only play comp, so it's sort of like whenever I play, I'm playing against myself, and can I better my best score, and can I lower my handicap? And I love that, and I've become addicted to it for a while. I've actually finally not addicted, and I can just get back
a bit.
Yeah, just back and playing only maybe once a week, but I was playing 3-4 times a week, and if I wasn't playing, I was practicing like every day. I started off with a handicap of like mid-20s and got down to 3, so because I just was addicted. Yeah,
that's unreal. Yeah. So, and you follow Mayber's golf blog. I know you watch my videos, and we're going to have to get out there and play a few games because haven't been playing because of the knee, but I feel like I'm ready to come back now. So we're going to have to go and have a few hits out at Eastlake there. And the beauty of it is, I suppose, is you can handicap. So I'm off 24 and you're off 3, but, we can still be competitive because if we don't play well, I've got a lot more shots than you.
Correct.
And so that's why it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, you play a lot with Paul Mellor, who's a legend, and he plays a scratch, doesn't he? So it's amazing. If I don't know, what are you playing off?
Oh, I'm in the 20s, so I've never, and the only time is a bit frustrating is they're all good golfers, they're teeing off, and I'm shanking them, and they're going to say, "Oh, come on, Mavo," here we go. But I do love the game. It's a great game to play. So
it's addictive, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is, and I love shooting footage and. Doing that content creation has helped me in this business now. So I've been doing that for a long time, shooting in slow-mo, and now I create for Bunnies TV, as a lot of you know, and look out for more of that to come. Mate, you've done well. I'd like to invite you back any time because you did mention that you would be keen to have a few more goes. So, look, if you're happy to come back, hang on, I'm talking under the table here. If you're happy to come back on, we'll get you on for a couple of live shows.
Oh,
do you want to guest host on Bunnies TV?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, and here's a Bunnies TV shirt and a sticker for you.
Perfect, thank you.
Because I know you said, you've got away from the game when you were refereeing and you sort of lost the passion for rugby league. But if you feel like it's sort of come back a bit now. Yeah,
I really do feel like it has. And, South is my... it was my junior club, and as I said, they made me a life member when I retired. And my loyalty is to the club, and I really, if I am going to watch a game, that's the game I would watch. A game of South playing somewhere, and I recently was at a barbecue where Jason Demetrio was, and he's a lovely guy. He is such a nice guy, and I was talking to him, and it was again making me feel like these guys are really in good hands, and I think they're going to have a really successful season this year, hopefully. Because
and we might have to get you in the dressing room when the flag have a win with young Drew and sing the team song. We'll belt it out together.
Yeah, I hope he has a great year, and I hope he just keeps getting better and better, and that would be also great to see. Yeah, it's when you've got someone that you personally have a connection with and watching it, it becomes even more enjoyable as the game. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you.